share, I'm hearing how important it is to know God as a person. What I would like to ask is, can you give us practical ways in which we can pursue that goal of knowing God as a person?
Thank you. Bonnie's question is, give us practical ways in which we can know God as a person. And the most practical book in the world is the Bible, and I can give you a verse from John 14, and then I'll try to bring it down to earth, maybe, if it's not practical enough to suit you. It says in verse 21, John 14, "The man who has received my commands and obeys them, he it is who loves me. And he who loves me will be loved by my Father, and I will love him and disclose myself to him." In other words, the knowledge of God is not an intellectual exercise. It is the reward of obedience. And I gave you the story of my friend Terry, who decided to obey God and honor her mother. And instead of arguing and fussing and whining and howling and creating a scene, when her mother said, "No, you can't go," she said, "Okay." Now, I don't know how to be any more practical than that. Very often, young people, college students, high school students, come to me and they say, "I really want to do the will of God. I really want to know God." Now, how do you get there? You know, they think I'm way up here on some kind of a pedestal that they've got to struggle to get to. And how did I get there? And I try to show them that I'm still right down here in kindergarten struggling the same way they are. But you do the next thing that God is telling you to do. And I say to them, "Are you a student?" The answer is yes. Okay, I say, "I can tell you what the will of God for a student is. It's to study." Now, they didn't want to hear that. They want me to tell them something spiritual. And I say, "Look, quit plagiarizing. Quit cheating. Quit putting off till the night before the exam you're studying. Write the paper, do the assignment, clean your room, be nice to your roommate." That's how you get to know God. You do it for his sake. And if they say to me, "Well, but I need to know which college to go to, and I've been asking God for guidance about this, and I have to know by next March, and this is October, and I don't know yet, so how am I going to know?" And my answer usually is, God has something for you to do in October that doesn't look to you as though it has anything to do with next March. It might be write a letter to your mother this week. It might be make an apology to your roommate. You see, that's, I think, what Jesus is talking about right here. "The one who does what I say will be loved by my Father, and I will love him and disclose myself to him." Another verse in the next chapter, Jesus said, "If you heed my commands, you will dwell in my love." Now, what is dwelling in his love if it's not learning to know God? "You will dwell in my love as I have heeded my Father's commands and dwell in his love." What was the secret of the union between the Son and the Father? Obedience. 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 The most practical way to get to know God. The only way, as far as I know. Trust and obey, for there's, what does it say? No other way. Sometimes when people are trying to be obedient to God and become broken bread and poured out wine, they become very, very exhausted. What is the remedy? Our pattern is Jesus again. He was a very busy man, and yet he moved in perfect serenity from one thing to the next. And I think the secret of the peace that he gives is to do the work that God has given us to do. And that's, of course, the tension that you and I have to deal with. I constantly pray, "Lord, thy list be done." I cannot do everything that's on my list or on everybody else's. And I don't believe it's God's will for us to be totally exhausted and burned out. I hate that word, burnout. We are to do the work of God without haste and without sloth. And only God can help us to sort out what is his will and what is ours or somebody else's.